The 8th Indigenous Economic Development Forum, held recently in Darwin, proved to be an outstanding success. This year's theme, Developing the North, saw a host of successful Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander business owners and operators sharing their insights and business experience.
These forums are only held every 2 years, so please make the most of this unique opportunity to network, to communicate with people. We've got a fantastic lineup of sessions, keynote addresses, and of course the wonderful Electric Fields is here to entertain you. I'd also encourage you to visit the exhibitor booths here today that you see around you. Fantastic setup here today. And remember, today is the start of forging strong business relationships for the future. So I hope you have a fantastic next couple of days.
I'd like to now welcome to the stage a man of vision, and it's our Chief Minister, the Honourable Michael Gunner, to deliver the opening address.
The Northern Territory's Aboriginal workforce, Aboriginal land, Aboriginal sea are this place's most precious, most powerful, most transformational latent assets. 50% of our land mass is Aboriginal by Australian law. 80% of our coastline is Aboriginal. A third of our population is Aboriginal. Aboriginal and environmental resources and developing the North are indivisible. They are indivisible from the immense Northern Territory future we go up and down the track and across the oceans to talk about. They are indivisible from the North's economic story. They are developing the North. More than anything, leaving here today knowing this about where we stand. We are on this incredible journey as one. No sides, no teams. From Palmerston to Papunya, whether your family tree in this place, like mine, goes back 4 generations or 1,000 like many in this room, we are in this as one. Many people, different names, different colours, different languages, same dreams. We all want our right to opportunity. We all want to live our lives how we see fit. We all want better futures for our children. And ladies and gentlemen, the future of this nation is in the North. It is right here with us. It is here in Darwin. It is in Alice Springs. It is in our community. The turn of the Asian century and our place at its doorstep has a territory on the cusp of something remarkable. Just think, within 5 hours flight time to the south, there are 24 million potential customers. Within 5 hours flight time to the north, there are 400 million customers. And the best place to do business with the North is from here in the NT. This government believes meaningful progress, engagement, reconciliation and protection of culture lay not in taking power, but returning power. This is the rationale behind our local decision-making agenda. If not the most significant Aboriginal affairs reform of this generation, is at least, I think, the most decent. We will partner with Aboriginal communities to determine the shape and control of local healthcare, schools, justice systems, local governments, housing, and how to grow happy and healthy kids. Do you want bilingual education in your schools? Do you want community-run health clinics? How do we nurture the kids who have slipped through the gaps? Let us find the best options. Let's do the work. Then you make your decisions. You are in control. Instead of government telling communities how it will be, communities will tell government. This is about empowerment, genuine self-determination. This will be, I hope, the legacy of our government. I want you to hold me to that. And I will hold you to coming up with ideas and economic opportunities to make it work. No one knows your country like you. No one can make your country work but you. No one knows what's best for your kids but you. Let's keep working together as one. Enjoy October Business Month. Enjoy today and tomorrow. And thank you for being part of developing the North. Thank you very much.
The 8th Indigenous Economic Development Forum.
Yeah, good morning everybody. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak this morning. So I'm the chair of the Northern Territory Indigenous Business Network, and certainly in 2017 we have a thriving Indigenous business sector here in the Northern Territory. Just a very brief historical story of the Northern Territory Indigenous Business Network. Essentially in 2009, formed at one of the IED forums. essentially there was a group of Aboriginal businesses that got together and saw the need to start a peak body here in the Territory to ensure that Aboriginal people and Aboriginal business had basically access to opportunities as they came through, and to provide that coordination link between a whole range of government and non-government services operating in the sector. Lots of our speakers have already talked about here. The Northern Territory is certainly a unique environment, unique because of our land ownership and native title, unique because we have 73 remote Aboriginal communities without stations. We have 43 urban Aboriginal living areas in our urban centres of Darwin, Katherine, Ten and Alice. We've roughly got 50,000 odd people speaking 51 languages and 125 dialects. And I guess the message I take away from all of that is that moving forward, if we're looking, one, to have a community narrative, and two, to have genuine place-based local decision-making, I think it's absolutely key and paramount that Aboriginal businesses are front and centre of that. And certainly in terms of creating sustainability, I think it's understanding that diversity and difference of our North End makeup. That is going to be the key to it. I've been to a lot of forums around the country of late, and it's interesting when we talk about developing the North, and people have often said to me that it's really important that Darwin becomes Asia ready. I suppose my view about that is I think that is a key, but I also think that Asia becomes Darwin ready, and it's about understanding the North here, and then how that looks through our remote areas and into the desert. So it's understanding that cultural makeup, and how do we improve our engagements in cross-cultural settings and work across the language divide. And look, again, just to reiterate that, I think that Aboriginal businesses, on country, are absolutely best placed to do that. Another interesting statistic that I heard recently is that 48% of our Year 10 population here in the Territory at the moment is made up of Aboriginal kids. And I know for myself, in Year 10, that that was where I was sort of thinking about the next steps in my life. And certainly I think it's really important that we understand that. And again, I think Indigenous business, on country, are particularly well placed to ensure that there is vibrant, exciting and sustainable employment pathways for our young people. And, that's the foundation for everybody.
Oh, look, yeah, there's been some fantastic speakers. Certainly the ones that really inspire me is particularly our second language English speaking, remote Aboriginal groups that are really competing on an international stage. And I think it's a real reflection that Aboriginal business is growing, and certainly this sense that it's a can-do model, and it's being directed from an Aboriginal narrative, which I think is fantastic. Yeah.
We seem to have come a quantum leap, even from the last Indigenous Economic Development Forum.
Look, I have absolutely seen the growth, and I've certainly been involved in these for many years. My own business is 28 years old, and certainly, the event in its initial days, lots of ideas. But again, just to sort of reflect on my last comment, we've now got a remote Aboriginal group that is going to start their own mine, and they're going to train their own local people, and send bauxite on the international stage. That there is amazing. I think the next transition and step of growth you might see in terms of this forum is that I'd like to hope then that the forum maybe steps over into the hands of the Northern Territory Indigenous Business Network with the government support in the background, and then we'll start to really own and run the forum in the future. That'll be great.
we do have major challenges, but we've got opportunities, and I think that's where we're trying to change the conversation, saying instead of coming from a deficit narrative, we're actually turning it upside down and coming at the positive, because we do have Aboriginal people do own a majority of the land and sea coastlines. There are opportunities there, and as the Chief said, half of our population hasn't even turned 21 yet, so we really do have a lot of opportunities in this area. So the challenge is, and we keep it getting pulled up, many from non-government organisations, but this is really important for government people to remember. We need to change. Government needs to look internally about changing the culture and how we do business. We're always saying, oh, community needs to build this, community needs to build that, when a lot of the communities already have answers. And I think a lot of our work, whilst we're out externally talking to people, it is really the internal shift that we need to focus on as well. This is about the government wanting to ensure that Aboriginal voices are at the forefront and at every level in government, and this will include not going out with, starting from scratch, because we hear from our communities many times that we've already told government what our priorities are. We've already told government what we need, so we need to do our homework as well. There's been many a times before that different action plans have been developed and not followed through for one reason or another, and we need to go back there and review and do an audit before we actually go out to community and say, we're there to help you move forward, when you already gave us a lot of the answers or solutions. But it's about working together as well.
Look, it's been a wonderful event. It's just great to see so many Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal people from right across the territory, but also interstate, come to this forum and share stories and experiences around their businesses and great opportunities that are coming across the territory. It's really empowering. I know a lot of our people from the remote areas are just finding it such an eye-opening experience in sharing these stories. There's so many opportunities out there, and it's about us learning from each other and sharing. So for us, I'm with the Office of Aboriginal Affairs. We're really proud to be part of the sponsorship for this event through the NT Government.
We've heard some of the presentations which have just been mind-blowing, to think that where Indigenous people, communities are doing the type of business that they are. How did you respond to that?
Yeah, look, there's businesses that are small businesses on country which are just amazing businesses, from women, harvesting bush tucker, right to Aboriginal businesses that are joining in and winning contracts on big gas pipeline projects. So the scale is from small businesses to large businesses. So, and it's just giving people the opportunity to see you don't have to jump in and know everything. You could start small and then grow a business if that's what you want to do. And I think that's something we've got to turn to for our future generations.
The 8th Indigenous Economic Development Forum.
One of the things, though, I am excited about, as I said, is being about an economic development conference, and for a couple of reasons. One is actually seeing that we as Aboriginal people are viewing as economic development as a way forward for our people, our communities and our nation. When people started to refer to me as a social entrepreneur, I actually had to find out what was a social entrepreneur, because I'd come up and I'd be at functions and they say, we want to introduce Adrian and he's a great social entrepreneur, and I'll go, rightio. And so basically, as if you look at it, social entrepreneurs do, say, 4 things. They transform the field in which they work. They tackle some of the most difficult social issues. They innovate over the normal practice of that sector, and they build strong and sustainable organisations. My life and the success of my life is more than just me being successful. It's about what I can actually do in my community and for others. For real community development, strong communities to exist, is we needed to develop the capital of culture, the capital of environment, the capital of assets, the capital of finance, and the capital of people. And I began to realise that, hey, we do some of those elements, but the one that we really don't do is we don't develop people capital, the capacity of our individuals to actually take on the opportunity. And so I established this. This was the first startup that I actually established. It was an organisation called Gambina. And when I first was looking at starting up and running a program that would work with young people in education, giving them the idea of what they could achieve in life through career progression, and then linking them to training and employment opportunities, you're talking back in the day where everyone came back to me and when I said this is what really needs to happen in the community, and this is in Shepparton where I was operating from. The amazing thing is I would come up with two blockers. One was, if I went outside of the government sector, people would say, isn't this a government responsibility? If I went into the government sector, as government would actually only want to operate within their individual funding silos. So education only wanted to talk about education, employment only wanted to talk about employment, but they only wanted to talk about unemployment, not people who are employed. And you'll understand a little bit why I speak so freely about the limitations of government systems. And so what I actually did is I actually said, well, if that's the limitations that are going to be imposed around the solution, I'll go outside of those limitations. And so since 2004, as we set up Gambina's operated with no government funding. And so I actually went out and talked to investors and talked to philanthropy about this is the real solution if you want to actually do game change in this sector. And it's not about taking individuals and put them into the minimum standards of education or in the minimum standards of employment. It's about what you can actually do to actually maximise the opportunity of what they can actually achieve.
The 8th Indigenous Economic Development Forum, highlighting the vital role Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander businesses play in the economic growth of the Northern Territory.